without me changing.
These are the ones that are in Amberton today.
Correct, correct. I have to modify all those homes to fit because of that 1,200 square feet we've lost in building area.
So the porch counts as part of your buildable area?
That's what I was gonna ask you, Kevin. Where does the front of the building or the front of the porch?
It's whatever is covered with a roof.
So it would be the
Yeah.
porch in this
So
case.
porch, a covered porch on the front does, yes, it would count. If it's supported by walls or columns or anything like that.
Build these.
And we can't build any permanent structure on easements or setback lines, correct?
Correct.
These are all permanent structural sections we're talking about.
Well, we're negotiate less here. Yeah. Okay.
So the yellow is the.
That's the encroach, that's the easement,
So
yeah.
these two lots.
The three
This-
really,
the-
64, 65, and 66. 64 just has a sliver.
64 just kind of has the corner, right?
Yeah.
65 and 66, it's across the entire width.
But because of the front of the lot being to the left of that sliver, it still kind of affects it on 64.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other questions? I think I understand the quandary you're in for sure. Any questions, anybody?
Oh, I guess I do this. So just to restate this, the pictures here are the home models that are the homes that you're proposing that you offer to everyone that buys a lot and you build in their
Those are
neighborhood.
actual homes. I took those pictures and I'm professionally done. That's me on my
Yeah.
phone. But those are the kinds of homes that people are asking for and we're building for them.
Okay.
Are there any homes that you're offering in that neighborhood that will fit?
No, sir.
So none of the ones that
No.
you built today will fit there?
Right, I have to redesign and either make it smaller than 1,783 square feet to allow the offsets, because all the offsets are options. People want to have a covered rear
Covered
deck.
porch, covered
They want to
deck,
have a
right.
nice porch extending beyond the house. It just looks nicer. Instead of just a box, everything flat across both sides. And we can design that and keep the 1,700, but we can't give them the options they all want. And everybody in the neighborhood is picking up those options because it just looks better.
Understand.
So I'm still not sure I have the answer to my question. These are the homes, if I went to look at a lot, these are the homes that you would say, hey, these are ones that I'm building. Or if I brought my own plans and it was completely custom, you would do that?
No, sir. No,
So
these
you're-
are all homes built by us. We have, let me see, I'll tell you exactly how many different models we have. We have 9 models, and each model has 3 to 4 structural options. So it really becomes a lot of different choices for people.
And there's 7 of the models here, right?
But those are not all the models, sir. Because like I said, each model has 3 or 4 structural options.
Right,
Like
I
you
gotcha.
can extend the porch, wrap the porch around, have a covered deck, a non-covered deck, have the garage extend beyond the front of the house instead of regress, instead of setting it back. So there's a lot of structural options we offer just to give a different look to each home.
Okay.
But for a non-covered deck would not count, just only a covered deck because it has a roof.
Right.
So if these three houses, if the roof didn't extend out, then you would be within compliance. Yeah, you still have a covered area under where the door is, but you just have a porch without a roof, I guess.
Yeah, he's talking about on these picture 1 and 2, you have the covered front porch.
Right.
If the porch didn't have a cover, then the front of the building would be your
It could be
actual
within that
line.
5-foot
And
area.
we're curious if, literally, if it just didn't have a covered porch, does it make it within compliance? And I don't know the distance. I don't know
That's
if
at least
I don't know if that porch
5
is
foot,
5 foot.
probably.
I don't know.
I would think.
It's
a
a
partial-
combination of meeting
Yeah.
the 1,700 square foot and the
Yeah.
exterior elevations to work.
Right.
If any structural section cannot encroach into any setback, and especially an ingress and egress easement. So even if it wasn't covered, I couldn't do it on the easement on the back. I couldn't do any encroachment on a structural section.
Right on the back, that's correct.
I think that answers my question.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. I
thank
appreciate
you very
it.
much. Anyone else would like to speak for or against? Not seeing anyone, we'll close the public hearing and reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals for discussion. Mitch and Kevin, I've got a couple of questions. On the drawing that we have here, I see a portion of 63 which says it's 6,500 square foot lot. And then I'm seeing 64, 65, and 66 are all larger than that. In the green and yellow, and for example, on 65, it says 7,413 square foot lot, and then it shows 1,200 square foot in the yellow. Is that 7,400 minus 1,200, or is that 7,400 plus 1,200 for that whole size?
The 7,400 or the 8,097 on lot 66, that's the total lot size.
That's including the
That would be
$1,200
including
easement.
the easement area.
Okay, so if you take the 1,200 off, you're down to, what is that, 6,800 size lot?
Yeah.
For 66 and 62 on 65 and
Right,
69 on 64.
right.
Okay, and I'm guessing it's because of the width, possibly, that they are bigger than 63? Because all three of those with the easement out are still bigger than lot 63, which the builder hasn't had a problem with.
Right, I think they're wider, or
The road
maybe a little
also.
bit wider, and I think they're, especially lot 66, you get a little bit deeper lot too. Because the road kind of curves right there.
Yeah.
And so it kind of curves a little bit closer as you travel towards lot 63. And so that lot's not quite as deep. So they did make those lots a little bit deeper because of that easement, I'm sure is what they were looking at,
Right.
but that is why they are larger.
Yeah,
It's
so-
not so much the width as it is the depth, I think.
Yeah, I kind of wish this drawing had the same kind of detail for some of the lots beside it. Because it looks like 63, the lot doesn't come out as far as 64. That's from the back. Seeing, yeah, but see in this picture how the line is here and there, it's offset.
Yeah,
So,
the front of the house is that thing right there, you see it can extend out further. This is the front of the house.
I don't think that's not the front of the house.
If you look at the
That's
other,
the building
They
envelope.
want the foundation.
if you look at the
Mhm.
you can see some of the lots. You kind of compare them visually. I guess this is future.
Yeah, section 1's all that's been recorded at this time.
Yeah. Okay, and then I guess a couple other questions. So I noticed in your staff comments that the concern was that, well, let's back up. So for us to grant a variance, we have to meet certain criteria. We have to have some sort of,
Hardship,
I couldn't get the word out, some sort of hardship
right.
or something that, some sort of water feature, something that isn't inferred or caused by the applicant.
Right.
I know that this, although they negotiated this easement at the beginning, probably before they laid out the houses and the property, but now that they've developed their issue and the owner of that easement isn't willing to negotiate, is it still something really created by them? I mean, I understand they agreed to it initially, but obviously that's not with all the information. I'm trying to find a way to work with them. I
Right.
don't want to set up a precedent where we've got another builder in here next week saying, well, you gave it to them, you got to give it to us.
Right.
So I want to make sure that we're within our bounds, but I kind of understand the situation. If the person who owns the easement isn't willing to work with them, then they really can't do anything to fix it.
Right, well, the easement certainly pre-exists then. I mean, the easement was there to provide access to that adjoining house. It has been there for a number of years before they ever bought it. So certainly the easement was not created. When we were saying it was created by them, is they were working, they knew what they had to work with when they laid their subdivision out. And you could
Could have made their choices of what
shift the road 5 or 10 feet, or do
Okay.
2 lots instead of 3, or whatever.
Or add some house plans that fit into those envelopes that from the beginning.
That's what we were saying was the stuff, they did not, know there was nothing there, and they did. I know they worked with the adjoining owner who has the rights to that easement for quite a bit, and I know
Yeah,
that
he's got quite a bit of easement there. I mean, we can see pictures of his driveway. He's got,
he has a
three
lot
X-
more easement than he has
yeah,
driveway.
he
Yes,
definitely does. He's got a lot that he doesn't need, but
Right.
unfortunately he owns it, right? So,
He owns the
He
easement.
negotiated
the easement, yeah.
Yeah.
From the previous owners, probably.
Okay. Well, that doesn't help. Thanks, Kevin.
Larry. I'm just explaining on what our.
No,
what
I
our
know, I'm
reason
just
was and
picking
our
at
thoughts
you.
were. I
So,
mean,
so,
certainly
yeah,
it's up to the
so
board.
obviously, guys, I mean, it takes 3 votes to do what we gotta do. I'm trying to find an angle, unless you guys see something that I'm not seeing, I don't really know how to approve it. I'm gonna be honest, I don't normally try to approve it, but I feel your pain. I feel the situation you're in, and I want to find if there was an angle, if there was an easement, I mean a drainage easement or something like that that we could work within, but there's just not. And I don't know of anything else short of changing the house.
Yeah, there's no other easements on those properties at all.
Any other ideas? Nope.
No idea to help. It seems like we can't come up with a hardship to accept the 5 feet. I'm not seeing it.
Okay. In that case, we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion if nobody wants to jump in there. I'll make a motion to deny this request due to the hardship was created by the applicant upon his completion of the final plat, and that there is adequate area on the lots to comply with the requirements of the PRD.
Okay, we have a motion, a second.
I have a second.
All those in favor of the motion, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion is denied. We'll go on to the next item on our agenda. The item on our agenda, the next one is a variance request for Tower Engineering Professionals. Thank you, gentlemen. Tower Engineering Professionals at Rocky Fork Road. Mitch?
Yep, this is a variance request by the applicant to not pave an access road to a proposed communications tower that recently came before the Planning Commission earlier this month. The property is zoned R3, which is medium density residential, and it's approximately 15.7 acres in size. Property has only approximately 30 feet of frontage on Rocky Fork Road, and there is an existing house on this property as well. The applicant has been approved by the Planning Commission to construct the tower with the condition that the road be paved as required by the zoning ordinance. The request is to not pave it at this time. This tract is a part of an agglomeration of properties where a developer is preparing a subdivision development plan. This plan has not been currently brought before the Planning Commission, but we are aware of it, and it's being proposed sometime earlier next year to be brought before us. When that subdivision is built, the understanding is that there will be a public road through that subdivision in which a new access road will be paved from that public road to this tower, which will be significantly shorter than this access road currently is at this time. The applicant could bond the paving of the access drive until such time as the new public road is constructed. This was discussed at the Planning Commission meeting where the applicant was present at. The board shall not grant a variance unless it makes findings based upon evidence presented as it follows. 1. The particular physical surroundings, shape, topographic conditions of the specific property involved that would result in a particular hardship upon the owner as distinguished from mere inconvenience if the strict application of this ordinance were carried out. Staff finds there are no particular physical aspects of the property that would create a hardship. The condition upon which the petition for a variance is based would not be applicable generally to other property in the same district. Staff finds this access road to this proposed tower is longer than most other access drives for this use within Smyrna. The variance will not authorize activities in a zone district other than those permitted by this ordinance. The use is authorized in the R3 district, and the variance would not authorize any other use. Financial returns have not been identified as a return for requesting the variance. The alleged difficulty or hardship has not been created by any person having an interest in the property after the effective date of this ordinance. The easement was established prior to the developer owning the property. The applicant was approved to be located on this property prior to the property being annexed into Smyrna. However, no construction permits were ever issued before that. Rutherford County did not require the access drive to be paved when they approved it at that time. The granting of the variance request will not confer on the applicant any special privileges that is denied by this ordinance to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same district. Staff finds the variance request may grant a special privilege since other similar towers have been requested to pave their access drives. 7, the variance is the minimum that will make possible the reasonable use of the land, building, or structure. Staff finds that this variance is not necessary to make possible the reasonable use of the land. 8, granting of the variance will not be detrimental to public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the area. Staff finds the variance will not have any of the above effects. And the proposed variance will not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent property, substantially increase congestion in the public streets, increase danger of fire, endanger public safety, or substantially diminish or impair property values. This variance would not have any of those above effects. 10 is not applicable. For staff recommendation, staff understands that it doesn't make sense to pave an access road at this time. As the future subdivision is built, it would need to be destroyed at that time to make room for the new roads in that subdivision. Staff would recommend denial of this request due to the fact there is no particular hardship present on the property of which to base a variance request. And that is it.
Okay. Want some photos?
Yeah, this is a shot from Rocky Fork, Allenville, looking at the access drive back towards where the proposed tower would be built. The road does lead back to the existing house, which is out of sight as far as it is off the road. So that's it.
Right. This time, go ahead, Kevin.
Well over 1,000 feet off the roadway, so
It's
that
well
was
off.
as close as we could do it.
Good ways.
Yes.
It's a good day for a hike. In the rain.
It's in the rain, yeah.
I took that picture today.
Yeah. All right, thank you. At this time, we'll close the Board of Zoning Appeals and open a public hearing for anyone who would like to speak for or against this request. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, sir. My name is Hunter Stewart with TEP. I reside at 229 Warwick Park Lane in Franklin, Tennessee. Yes, as Mitchell did state, this was cited and approved by Rutherford County prior to the city annexing it. The tower was cited to be as far from the road as possible to try to minimize visual impact. Now, given the fact that at one point this will be developed with what we've got going on in Middle Tennessee, especially Smyrna, this is ripe for subdivision for future growth. The Planning Commission did grant us the right to post a bond, and if the road subdivision did not come to fruition, go ahead and build the road. But at some point that road will be built, and any work done will have to be physically scraped away to meet the developer's need, to site lots, and we just find it to be non-productive, if you will, to pave a road or be prepared to pave a road, given the fact that this is going to transition into development at some point. Now, it may not be in 2 years or 3 years, and I can foresee a stall in the housing market, and Smyrna say, okay, we've got the bond, let's go ahead and build a road, and then the economy heats up, and 2 years later we find ourselves destroying the road. So we would just request a variance until such time that the property is developed surrounding, and choose to address the paving of the access at that time in concert with the developer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
No, I think you answered. The only question I had was what was the concern with the bond, and I think you've answered that. So
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else before? All right. Thank you. We'll close the. I'm sorry. Anyone else would like to speak for or against? We'll close the Board of Zoning Appeal, the public hearing. Reopen the Board of Zoning Appeals for discussion. Couple of questions, Mitch. So planning agreed that they could post a bond, and I'm assuming if he posts a bond, then he doesn't have to build the road right away. But at some point, and I guess what's that point in the future? It's this.
This is more of a surety for us if the subdivision
So at
doesn't
some
come to
point,
fruition.
if we wanted to come back and call the bond, we could,
Yes.
but we don't have to by a certain date or anything like that.
The city would have to act on that.
Right.
It could stay dormant forever.
Okay, so the point in the bond is just that, to the gentleman's point, if the property doesn't develop, let's say we have another 2009 and we go 10 years without it developing, we have a tower without a road and nothing ever gets built, we have some reason or some way to go back and get that road built.
Right.
Okay, any questions about the bond? Does that make sense to everybody? it's essentially, he doesn't have to build a road now,
Yes.
but, it basically is just a guarantee to the city that,
So we're
could.
saying, my question would be a little different, and that is that we're saying paved road, and what's the description of a paved road? Can you
Well,
tar
it would not have to be a city street quality
Right.
pavement. I mean, it's basically,
I think the one by my house is basically chip and tar. I mean, it's about the cheapest stuff you can get.
there's that, or,
I think they threw some tar down on top of gravel.
threw some oil on it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing, yeah, because it's not a public street or anything like that. It just has to provide paved access. Yeah, so a chip and tar, you know, someone who paves it like you would pave your driveway. I mean, it could be that simple.
Okay.
There's mention of a communication tower?
Yeah, that's what they're building.
The building back there
Yeah.
is the
Yeah,
communication
they're
tower.
gonna be building the 150 or 180? 180, yeah, high tower, yeah. And then it was approved prior to being annexed, the property sold, the new owner requested to be annexed, and,
Yeah, I guess the kick of it is if you'd have built it before it got annexed, you wouldn't have to do anything.
right, yeah, it just,
That's
Ain't
the
get
bad
done.
part, right?
Budget cuts by
Then-
Verizon.
Then it's grandfathered in, right?
right.
I'm getting old, so.
Yeah, grandfather. Sorry, that hit close to home.
Yeah, I have a 5-year-old child.
All right, any further questions, discussions, or a motion? I think it's unfortunately pretty cut and dry. The biggest concern I think that we have is, same issue we had just a minute ago. There's really not a hardship. It's timing of the request and timing of the process. And although I understand the bond ties up some money, that's the point, is the guarantee and the surety. I could see a situation where we don't grant this and then Nissan right now is building a tower on the back of their property. They may not want to pave theirs either. How are we going to tell them the same thing? Someday,
There's already paved.
We always
but
get,
someday we may build a plant, so we don't want to do that, right?
that's always a catch.
Yeah.
That's always a catch.
So, okay.
So I make a motion that we deny the request due to the fact that there is no hardship with the property on which the base of the variance, to base that variance.
And do we want to say something about the bond, make sure?
It's in the planning
So
code.
since it's in the plan, we don't need to say
You don't have
anything.
to- yeah.
Yeah,
Basically, they're required to either pave it or put up a bond. That's their
yeah,
option.
that's part of what planning approved.
They
So
can do
that's-
either or.
Okay.
All right, so I do have a motion. I do not have a second.
I'll make a second on that.
All right, and we have a second. Is that everything we need in the motion, y'all think? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of denying this request, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The request has been denied. Next item on our agenda is, if I can get there, sorry. You gave me too much technology up here.
You're good with technology. We're in trouble.
Next item is staff comments. Any staff comments at this time?
The only thing I would just remind, I think, Mr. Peach was gonna do, I think at the January meeting, maybe do some sort of training, so
Yeah, that'll be at least 30 minutes prior.
Is
So,
it prior or after?
I think we're gonna try to do, I think he was gonna try to do prior,
Yeah.
Prior, okay.
yeah.
so we would need to be here by 4:15, 4:30 tops.
Probably could transition over
What's your travel schedule look like, you know?
I hadn't planned that third week yet, so
Okay.
that's what I was looking at.
All right. Any
So
other-
we'll certainly get back in touch with you all
Okay.
as we get closer to that.
I guess if you find that before isn't gonna work, you can't get here before work, I know you come from downtown, then
That
maybe
should be okay. I think
we can
it's
talk to
4:15.
Jeff and try to do it after. I mean, usually these meetings don't go till
That should be okay.
6 or so, and
Like we are.
we can be done at 6:30.
So that's Thursday the 17th.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can make 4:15 work.
Okay. All right, I'll let Wendell know.
Okay.
All right, no other comments? If that's the
That's it.
case, then we will stand adjourned. Thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, gentlemen.